the seagulls follow the shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the buzz and they left the buzz in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. I've never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. The Boise bus revs back up at the slightly adjusted time of 10 to 7 because Jonathan wants to watch the Champions League. I want to watch the Champions League next season when the Celtic are in it, Jonathan. That's how I want to do. But anyway, we've started a wee bit earlier. Hopefully, many of you caught up with the channel and have realised that the show was at a different time tonight than normal, and the bus gets as busy as it possibly can. To do so, we will kick off with all that good stuff. All that good stuff means, if you've not hit the like button yet, do it. Do it now. If you want to give us a wee share, slag my hair, that's absolutely fine as well. If you want to subscribe, and the subscriber numbers have jumped, Jonathan, again. We're at 3,620 something now. So that's another jump up from the last time we were doing that wee list. So a big thank you to those who've subscribed. It's completely free, remember, to subscribe. If you want to become a Boise Bus member, though, that is $1.99 a month. It is absolutely optional. It helps keep the bus on the road, and you can be a Boise Bus member like Belly. Not seen you in ages. How you doing? Like Pam, like Patrick McLaughlin, like San Fran Celtic, like Uncle Nobby's Steamboat, like Patrick McLaughlin, Charles Smith, like John Logue, Michael Cairns, Paul Dyatt, and so many, many more. A big thanks to all you who do that and contribute to keeping the channel alive. It's been a bit of a whirlwind couple of days for the old bus, Jonathan. I always want you to know this, though. I deliver on my promises. When I told you there was a legend coming, they wouldn't believe me, Jonathan. They were saying George Cadeti. They weren't saying Stuart Slater or anything like that. I'll leave that to the wee fella. But, I mean, I think when it came down to the crunch, it was like that name, getting that, I was like, folk will not believe this. Trying to sit on it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to sit on that. However, we did well. We kept it under wraps. And the soundest man you could ever wish to meet jumped on the bus. It was an amazing day yesterday. We had great fun doing the old the Monday Club kind of lunchtime edition that we now do. And that was like an hour after it, and it was class. Do you know what I mean? It was like, wow, that's just happened. And take stock a wee bit now and just go, thanks for the positive feedback. So many folk in the comments have been so kind, not just on the channel, but on Twitter and Facebook and all that carry on. So a big thank you to all you as well. And there's been the odd naysayer, Jonathan. I think someone put up like a Peter Kay sketch. I'm like, if you're going to use Peter Kay to try and slag off the bus and one of the best players to ever grace the game, come up with better than Peter Kay. That's my advice to them idiots, Jonathan. But anyway, it's that time of the show. It feels weird because it's still broad daylight outside, but take it away, young man.
Yes, well, it's been an interesting week in Scottish football, hasn't it, Russell? Events over the weekend lead me to two real words, royalty and reward. With the events that took place over the weekend, it was confirmed that from a Rangers fan's perspective, the only celebrations of a changing of the guard were going to take place at Buckingham Palace on Saturday, because come Sunday at Tynecastle, it became Coronation Sunday for Ange and the Celtic team, as they were once again crowned the reigning and defending champions of Scotland. When you're looking at that as well, it all boils down to the fans then getting their reward with those post-match scenes. And, royalty was also on hand to salute, as you alluded to at the start of the show, when King Kenny, one of our own royals, decided to tip the cap, as it were, to Ange Postecoglou and his team. So he's been reaping the rewards over the last couple of days, Ange Postecoglou, but there is still a massive issue for him in the league, and it's another word that begins with R that he is looking to address come Saturday lunchtime, and it is a word called respect, because on Saturday at Ibrox, a depleted Celtic team go to war once again with Mickey Beale, and let's face it, we've rubbed salt in his wounds, we've shoved it in his face. Ange Postecoglou has put the boot into the gut of Rangers' title challenge, as well as the Scottish Cup campaign just a few weeks ago. However, Mickey Beale seems adamant that there isn't much between the teams. He doesn't feel the gap is really that big. So I wonder what happens this Saturday if Mickey Beale fails once again against an understrength Celtic team, unable to win in 5 games against Celtic. I think the right thing for Mickey Beale to do at that point would be to finally get up off his knees, because we've kept him there long enough, and stand up for the champions. The hype job for Saturday starts now.
Oh, love it, love it, love it, love it. Brilliant work, mate. Oh, brilliant. And already when you start like that, already we've got the likes of Stoned Outlaw sitting there, and good to have you on the bus, mate. And he's already now, you've just psyched him up for Sutton Death. Can you put me out my misery? I don't think so, mate. I'm on top of the world
tonight.
right now.
I mean, this is now like the biggest thing going in Scottish football now. I mean, everything else is
closest competition, isn't it?
It certainly is. Until we get to the Scottish Cup final, this is the only thing anyone's caring about, Sutton Death. But big week for you. You need to win. You need a win on Sutton Death. You don't get a win today. Don't get a win today.
I could win 3 in a row.
You could, but I mean, you'll like it. I've specifically wore this top. It's another Underdogs t-shirt, because it's been an Underdogs theme in the Scottish Cup, much like the guys that used to wear this top from 97, 98. They were used to being up against it. They were used to being behind an awful lot of times, but when push came to shove and it was crunch time and they needed to win, they found a way. And I plan on doing just the same thing to you, not just tonight, but also next week, and wrapping up the title.
We'll see, mate. We'll see. If there's one Maverick in that team who scored an absolute colour from outside the box after 3 minutes in that game, Jonathan, I'm beginning to think, since we're all talking about royalty, I'm thinking it could be a King of Kings introduction to Sutton Death for me tonight. Just you wait and see. Anyway, we'll talk some Celtic, won't we? That was a fantastic weekend, first and foremost. League titles should never be taken for granted. League titles should always be milked, should always be celebrated. I know it's easy to start going into the Rangers game, and we will talk about that tonight. You're absolutely right. The hype train begins. But always remember, we go into this now, and I know, don't get me wrong, I'll be a complete hypocrite, because come Sunday morning, I'll be, or Saturday morning, whatever it is, I'll be absolutely revved up to the match, right? That's just the way it goes, right? You know that. But at this moment in time, I just feel like, meh, yous need it. Yous need it so bad, and we really don't. It makes no odds to nothing. And if winning once the dust is settled and all is said and done, and all the trophies are handed out, is all that you can claim to be a sign of tangible, Dave King's favourite word, success. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. But I have to think this weekend, what we're end up going to finding is the pressure cooker that comes only from their side, not on ours. There's no pressure on ours. But I think the pressure that comes with them, with not even us there to bring a bit of colour and a bit of feel good factor to it, it's just going to be 50,000 angry orcs, Jonathan, baying at Mordor for blood, and knowing deep down they've got a team under their nose, might not be able to deliver the goods.
Yeah, I think Ibrox certainly won't be a particularly pleasant place to be for the Rangers fans that decide to go along in attendance. They are now looking at this game as if it's just, I don't even know what this is now for them, because I billed the last one for Rangers in the Scottish Cup semi-final as something or nothing. I mean, this is nothing or nothing, really. I mean, they're winning nothing. They're winning absolutely nothing. Even if they win this game, it means hee-haw in the grand scheme of things. I think it'll be very interesting if Mickey Beale is unable to get the better of Postecoglou on this occasion, though, because I do look at it, and Carter Vickers will obviously not be available, so we're going to be without our strongest centre-back. That's without a shadow of a doubt. And then you never know what other tweaks he may choose to make as well, or other players may choose to may not be available for this game too. So I think Celtic will probably go into this as under strength, I would dare to say, as they have been in any other derby this season. You combine that with the fact that Rangers have the home field advantage. I think there's a lot of pressure on Mickey Beale to make sure he gets this one right, because you're right, from a Celtic standpoint, it's not one that's going to make a massive difference to us. Fair enough, on the day we won't want to lose it, absolutely not. But when it comes down to the crunch, Rangers have failed with every time when it's mattered this season against Celtic. And if they manage to pick up a win in the bounce game at the end of the season against the champions, then fair play to them. But at the end of the day, it makes no odds going into next season. I think the interesting thing there would be, from a Celtic point of view, in a perverse way, Russ, and I'll put this to you: if Rangers were to win, does that perhaps alleviate a bit of the pressure on Beale? Does that make things better for Celtic next year? Because I just don't think he can get Postecoglou's number. I think Celtic want him to stay in the job for as long as possible. Not that I'm condoning losing, by the way, on Saturday. I'm just saying, if that was to happen, do you think that actually plays more into Celtic's hands in the longer run?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It was funny when you were saying nothing is nothing. It took me back to, there was a brilliant video on Twitter, released, I think it was last week, someone makes them up. I don't know who did this one. They're brilliant, though, a lot of them. And it was it was Celtic winning the league, and it was always looking the bright side of life. And at one point, you came with nothing, you left with nothing. What you got? Nothing. And that's what we'll be saying to me, Billy Boy, come Saturday afternoon, no matter what the result is. Incidentally, PMP will be a wee bit later Saturday. I'm actually working. I don't know how somehow slipped up and not got this Saturday off. I'm meant to work Saturdays. I take them off all the time because there's bloody channel. But no, I'm actually going to need to work it, so I'll just be on the telly up there. I work from home, so it's channel. But by the time I finish, PMP will be a wee bit later. As for the game, I think what he's done again is incredibly, you wait and you pick your moments before you throw your team under the bus. Now, if Morelos is as big a problem, for example, as he's making out, why did you start him against Celtic then? If now you're just the next game that you play, go, see, he was negative and he's away, he's not going to play again, and it's his fitness that's the problem. I'd be keeping as many of them on side until you get, as you say, a fixture of massive importance still to them this season, despite the fact it brings them nothing. It is, and it's nothing for nothing. And I get all that, but for his point of view, he needs it for his stock. He needs it for his...
it's the Mickey Beale derby, isn't it, almost, in some ways? It's Mickey Beale's reputation is now what's on the line. Celtic have stripped everything else away from him thus far in all the games they've played against each other. The only thing that Postecoglou has left to take from him is his reputation, and proving him as a complete and utter diddy. Because that is what the narrative, whether they like it or not, is what that will be. If Celtic manage to win at Ibrox, which they are more than capable of doing, the facts will then suggest that Mickey Beale is incapable of doing that job over there. Now, I know they'll turn around and they'll try and spin it, that they're going to make lots of changes like they always do in the summer, and then they're going to be a whole new team, and that's going to make them all the better for coming after Celtic next season. But if he's unable to get a win over Celtic in 5 attempts with a team that, let's face it, the majority of them were in a European final last year, so they can't be that bad, then I think he's going to have severe questions to answer over the summer months. And I think that's what Postecoglou would love to do, because I think Ange Postecoglou really doesn't have time for Mickey Beale at all. I think he's actually lit a fire under him, and you've seen it in the way he's been celebrating the game.
I agree. Jonathan, you're watching it the same way as me. That is exactly. I was trying to allude to that yesterday in the Monday Club. I said, I know Ange is above it all, but at the end of the day, he's a human being as well. I was saying this yesterday, and I went, I think at times though he's just picked his moments where he said the wee dig. You know, the fact that when we won the Scottish Cup semi-final, he brought up the fact that, you know, no doubt we've been lucky again today. That's him remembering what's been said in the past. So it tells you it's got under his skins too far. And I was saying that yesterday. Maybe he's not under his skin as such and he just laughs at him. However, notwithstanding that, he definitely is acutely aware of the nonsense that he spouted. And you're right, I think he's rubbed him up the wrong way. And he's like, do you know what? It's time to have a bit of that. And that's what we're looking for. You know, Celtic to get back to their swashbuckling best, play without any captain, any concerns, total freedom, knowing all the pressures on them, knowing that they're likely to crumble under that anyway with, as I say, a baying mob. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. But I think we go into the game big favourites as well because of some of those factors. The dynamic of how the narrative is going to be written is funny because they're desperately trying to spin a narrative now. And the only way they can do it is describing a victory, if they were to get one this weekend, as some sort of success when it's the one that didn't matter, as you say. The ones that mattered, you didn't get the job done. But it's anything now, just to try and, it's not even keep a hold of the narrative, control the narrative, just to spin it just a wee bit in wee Mickey's favour. The last thing they want to do is have to sack and pay off another manager, let's be real. Whereas for us, we've already written our narrative for the summer. We are all Celtic fans now licking our lips at the prospect of maybe some pushing record signings coming in. We think we've got the capabilities to do it. We're also looking at lips at the prospect of Ange in the last 3 since he's been here. This will be his 5th 2 summers. This will be his 5th transfer window. You know, he's had an amazing strike rate in that market. We're looking at lips at that. We can't wait to find out who's in our Champions League group draw because we're already in it. That's what we're all looking forward to, you know. For them, they're looking forward to finding out if they can go into the summer with any glimmer, any shred of hope. And it's the hope, Jonathan, that kills you.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Rangers, they're the masters of winning the pre-season tournaments with the media. I don't know how many pre-season titles they must have won over the last 10, 15, 20 years. They feel like they win it all the time. They never share that one out. That's never one Celtic seem to win whatsoever. But, you know, if they were to lose on Saturday, then that makes that spin very difficult to then try and say Rangers are on a high going into the summer and they're in a position where they can feasibly wrestle the title away from Ange Postecoglou's Celtic. If obviously they were to win, then that does give them something to hold on to and kind of gives them something to work with Mickey Beale, that he has at least finally managed to get the better of Postecoglou. Although, as I say, there's going to be a lot of mitigating factors in it. I think it is probably the most 50-50 game I think we're going to play against them this season, just because of the circumstances around it. I don't necessarily see this one being one that Celtic are going to go away and smash them. And I would love it if I'm wrong, but I think this will be a bit of a closely fought affair. I don't think there'll be too much in it between the teams because I expect, as I say, Celtic are without their best centre-half. I wouldn't be necessarily overly surprised if there's 1 or 2 other omissions from the team, whether it's injuries or whether it's Ange Postecoglou playing things slightly safe for the Scottish Cup final, which granted is for the treble and is a bit more of an important game in the grander scheme of things. Then I think there is possibilities there for drop points. So I think from a Celtic point of view, this one's all stacked up for Rangers to get a result. So if Rangers are unable to beat Celtic in a situation like this, then I think the fans at Ibrox would be within their rights to ask the question, if he can't beat Ange Postecoglou without his best centre-back and with the full of Ibrox behind him, when is he going to be able to beat them? And from Postecoglou's point of view, he can kind of let the players go and play with freedom to express themselves. The pressure is completely off Celtic in this game. Celtic can go into this in a totally different frame of mind compared to where they were, the last couple of times they've played Rangers. It's actually completely flipped because it's almost like the game at Celtic Park in a lot of ways, where most people thought Celtic going into that game would smash Rangers. And Rangers were in an all or nothing situation at that point if they were to have any chance of winning the league. So they could throw caution to the wind, and people would get behind that. And if they lost, people expect them to lose anyway. Whereas this time, the expectancy, I think, for the first time in a derby under Beale, I think it's absolutely on Rangers to win from a neutral's point of view, or certainly from a Rangers fan's point of view anyway. This is one that they will look at and think, if all the derbies we've played against Celtic this season, this is a must win in terms of we should be able to win this game given the circumstances we find ourselves in. And when you're under that type of pressure, it'll be interesting to see if Mickey Beale is able to kind of cope with that, because he does like to talk a lot about how his previous successes there under Gerrard and all that sort of stuff a few years ago. I've got to remember, Gerrard's team, when they were under pressure outside of that freak COVID season, they didn't like it very much. And Mickey Beale was part of that.
Oh, totally, mate. Totally. It is going to be interesting how this all plays out this week in terms of its importance, and whether he'll throw anyone else under a shitey wee bus. It's not a Boise bus that Mickey Beale drives, but the Mickey Beale bus, who will be thrown under it again this week, and what controversial, daft statement he'll make to deflect from the matter in hand. As for Celtic, the league's won, Jonathan. There's a Scottish Cup still to go. We've decided, as you say, to let the best centre-half in the country, not just the Celtic, go get his operation last week, do his surgery, and then basically we look forward to seeing him the start of the next campaign. I mean, that tells you how confident we are as where our frame in mind is right now going into the fixtures that are upcoming. I think that tells you once the job's done in the league, we're pretty relaxed about maybe the results. There is a record still there to be got at, though. Is that something, again, that we should be focusing on? Or is it something that maybe... It's a manager's gift, I think, if I'm honest, to have one eye on those sort of things. And I get that. I really do. I think can't blame them. They've all got to have a wee bit of an ego, because you can't become a football manager, I think, if you've not got one. So naturally that can then digress into things like, I wouldn't mind having the top points in Celtic's history. Of course you wouldn't mind that. Does that play a factor for us going into this weekend or add any pressure? I don't think so. I think it's a wonderful novelty to be able to be playing 4 more fixtures in the league campaign this year and know that if you win them all, 107 points. That's astounding from where we were 20 months ago to be talking about a record ever points total. If you told me that 20 months ago, well, in fact, I'm liable to fall off my chair every now and then anyway, but I would have fallen off my chair then.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's been quite unbelievable that Celtic are in this position, because I don't think anyone would have expected when Postecoglou first walked through the doors, but give him 2 seasons and he'd be rivaling in terms of statistics the Brendan Rodgers Invincibles, which he could end up surpassing their points total. He's only lost once in the league this season. He's on course for a domestic treble. I mean, everything that he's managed to do has really has turned to gold with Ange Postecoglou, and he's just been so unfancied from day one. I think it's almost a sort of story that the Celtic fans have really bought into with him in a completely different way from what was going on when Rodgers was in the building. So I think from Postecoglou's standpoint, he's going to look at ways to keep the players motivated, because you're right, there's 4 games to go until the Scottish Cup final. I think Derby Day tends to take care of itself. I think the players tend to get motivated for that. Even if there's nothing to play for, I don't think if Celtic were to drop points on Saturday, it'll be down to a lack of effort from the players or them going into only Scottish Cup final mode whatsoever. I think a Derby game is different, but I think if we were to win at Ibrox, then he's going to be very much looking at these record points totals that they could set. I think they're close to the record goals total as well for Celtic. So there's all these things still to play for, and you need something like that, a carrot, if you like, to dangle in front of the Celtic team, so that they've got something still to keep going for in these fixtures. Because as Ange Postecoglou says, he doesn't want to stop. I don't think he's the type who's going to, even after we get through this game at Ibrox, he's not going to throw in.
I've never heard Ange say he doesn't want to stop before in my life.
Yeah, he definitely did.
I just don't want to stop, mate. I've never heard him say I just don't want to stop.
Well, he should. That'll be a slogan next season. You've heard it here first. You've heard it here.
I just don't want to stop.
That's why he never stops. It's because he doesn't want to stop. He can't stop. He's not allowed to stop. He's got to keep going until the season is over. Ange Postecoglou
I
does
just
not
don't
stop.
want to stop.
That's what he tells them, I'm sure, in the changing rooms. When you get the next DVD, I'm sure that's what it says. But I think when it comes to that side of it, I think Postecoglou will not want the league season to finish off with a whimper. And I don't think in that respect he would make too many changes for Ibrox other than the ones that are enforced. And I don't think he'll make too many changes even going past Ibrox in the remaining league games either. Maybe one or two or the youth guys might get more of an opportunity. But I think he's going to be chasing down records. And that's what it's all about for Ange Postecoglou. He's here to make a name for himself. I think he does have that bit of an ego about him. I think he does want to have as many sort of records as he possibly can at Celtic, especially when he knows how close he is. Because this sort of thing, I know we're almost in such a fortunate position with how good Celtic have been over the last 5-10 years outside of that COVID year. That we're almost at the point where we can almost take it for granted sometimes. But these point stalls don't come around, all that often usually. Brendan Rodgers, when he surpassed, that was Martin O'Neill, your favourite, that had set the previous record. And that was going back to 2002. So that was like a 15-year gap. And for him to even get a chance to do that, when you're thinking his point stall could beat Brendan's and Brendan didn't even lose a game in that season, it's truly remarkable. And it's something that Postecoglou is acutely aware, if you will, that he might not have another opportunity at doing again in his time at Celtic, because it only takes a couple of slip-ups and you cannot hit these records. That's how small the margin of error is.
Yeah, and I think also that then you've got to reflect on that and go, that tells you how little errors Celtic have made in the league this year. The fact, as you say, one wee drop off and that'd be it, the record wouldn't be on the menu. But to get to a position where with 4 games to go, it is still on the menu, shows you how consistent and how fantastic we have been this year. Jonathan,
they just don't want to stop. They don't want to stop the players.
Don't want to. It's just we just don't want to stop. Is it the players' team there? Who picks this SPFL team of the year that was decided today?
I'm not sure who picks it. I did see bits of it. I'm not sure if that's done by the players or if that's done by the managers. I'm not sure.
I don't know who picks it. I don't know who picks it. We'll go through it anyway, and you can tell me what you agree with, what you disagree with. We've got Joe Hart in goals, James Tavernier at right back, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carl Starfelt as the centre halves, Greg Taylor left back, Malik Tillman's in the midfield, Callum McGregor, Rio Tati also, and you've got Duke, Kyogo and Kevin Van Veen.
Oh, I already know what you're going to say. Looking at that. Your favourite's not made it.
But I mean, Jota not being in that is a shambles in my opinion. Just a shambles. Again, what's the reason why is Jota not in it? Held to a higher standard than the rest. It's just a fact. People will wake up to that. If he's not in the team of the year by his numbers this year, oh, shut up. 25 goal contributions he's made in the SPFL in 34 games. 11 goals. No, 21 goal contributions. 11 goals, 10 assists. That's what it is. 11 goals, 10 assists. So it's 21 goal contributions in 34 league games or so he's played. 33 league games, something like that. Wow. I mean, for that not to be involved is madness. But hey ho, Malik Tillman's, I think he's got 10 goals, 1 goal less, and he's got 4 assists. So, yeah. I mean, I think that's just absolute virtue signal and bollocks, to be honest with you, Jonathan. I think we just need to tell the truth sometimes. Anyone else surprised Joe Hart's done all right to get in there?
Well, I was just about to say it's interesting because it's actually the area that a lot of our critics tend to say is our worst sort of area, apart from Carter-Vickers. We've actually got Starfelt and Joe Hart in there, who both come in for quite a lot of criticism, which I think sometimes, particularly with Starfelt, is a bit unfair. But I think that's interesting. I wouldn't have expected both of them to have been in, especially with Joe Hart, because I think most Celtic fans expect him to get replaced in the summer, which I guess, whoever's been putting this team together would suggest that they think Joe Hart's actually maybe not as bad as all that. And that's another one, of course, Phil McGinley pointing out your favourite Aaron Moy. That's what I was actually talking about. It wasn't Jota I was talking about. I don't know why you were bringing it. You even got an Aaron Moy t-shirt. I'm surprised you're not.
Did you think it was Jota I was referring to?
Oh, okay. I mean, it sounded like you were talking about Jota, but I presumed you were going to come by and hit us with a curveball about Aaron Moy not being in a
No.
First sub, Aaron Moy, surely first sub.
Aye.
Just for that purple patch, those 5 to 6 games. I mean, to be fair, it's more than Malik Tillman's done all season. Those 6 games Aaron Moy put together. So,
do you know Moy got another assist at the weekend as well?
yes, he did.
Same with puts the ball for row. Same with put the ball
right.
across the row. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think Tavernier's numbers, you can see how he gets in. I think the numbers is just all they base it on. I don't think they base it on any of his defending ability. And then you've got the interesting Duke. I mean, I don't know. Did you see that? We're talking about Rangers on it. But I mean, how is that not a foul, Jonathan? Then let them have the argument about whether it's a free kick or a pen. But I mean, Duke's just too strong for that Goldson. Too quick, too strong. His 2 arms go round him. Do you think Duke's maybe then squeezing him a wee bit? Maybe. But that's what you do. Those arms got in that position through one person, and that was Connor Goldson. I then seen a later photo of it, and Goldson's actually diving with his hand right outstretched. And I just thought, you just choked handball it again, didn't you, son? But yes, I mean, I looked at that Duke and I thought, love the wee turn that he did. I think he's had a lot of good moments this year. Is he the only one in that list you could see ever piquing anyone at Celtic's interest? Is there any sort of argument for that at all? It's not going to be Van Veen, despite the fact that you've seen a couple of his touches at the weekend too, by the way. Oh my God, so good. But yeah, 31. I don't see him being anywhere near our radar. Do you think?
When Duke ticks a lot of boxes, but I think he would need to prove himself a bit more at Aberdeen before it'd be something that Celtic would be taking a serious look at. I think there's a reason why Postecoglou hasn't really signed that much from the Scottish top flight since he's came in, and I don't think that's because he's been very impressed by what's there. To be completely honest, I think he's only taken Seacrest, and we know how much of a look in he's had this season, played a couple of games. So I would turn around and say I think Postecoglou has his eyes set further afield when he's scouting for players, or where he's got his scouts out looking for players. I think if there was a talent there that Postecoglou felt would improve them, I think he'd snap them up very quickly, and I think he'd be on the ball with something like that. If there was somebody like, a John McGinn, for example, when Rodgers was there, Postecoglou would take them instantly. And I think that would be the interesting thing if something like that does end up happening, as to whether history will or will not repeat itself in a situation like that. But if you're looking at Duke, he certainly is showing signs of being a very good player for Aberdeen. They're looking very, very likely to finish third, particularly if they get a win over Hibs at the weekend. That would then guarantee them European group stage football next season. So then you'd probably get a better chance to see what he's like against a higher standard of opposition, whether that be in the Europa League or the Conference League. And then I think, Celtic, if they were impressed with those performances, they maybe would take another look at them next year. But if you were asking me in the summer, is that somebody Postecoglou has his radar? Absolutely not a chance. It won't be until, I think, at least another 12 months down the line, if it indeed was ever to happen. Because, as I say, I think Postecoglou has had I would bet my house he's had a very good look at this league in the 2 years he's been here, and not been very impressed with any of the players. Otherwise, I'm convinced he would try and make a move for them, because that ticks a lot of boxes from a Celtic point of view, and it's something that Celtic as a club have been notorious for. Going back through all the decades, is poaching talent from other teams. But I think from Postecoglou's standpoint, if he doesn't think they're going to make the team better, why bring them in? And that is the exact perfect mindset that we need from our manager at the top of the club.
Well, of course. Is there any other surprises in the team? Any other Celtic players you think have been fortunate to get in? Do you think Starfelt's fortunate to get in, or do you think it's the recognition now? People are coming round to the fact that this guy's a bona fide defender, Jonathan. He's quality at the back of CCV. If you're going to have one, they're always better together than not.
Well, they've not lost the game domestically when they've played together, so I think that's probably where that is all based. And which is quite remarkable. It's a truly remarkable record, that one. And I think that is probably why people are seeing that. And to be fair, I think Starfelt in some of the games, even against Rangers this season, was actually better than Carter Vickers. I think the one at Celtic Park strikes out to me. I think Carter Vickers was a little bit loose and a little bit slacking a little bit at times in that game. I think Carl Starfelt did do a bit of covering on that side of it. So there's no two ways about it. I think the two of them complement each other very well. I think when Starfelt tends to have more of his hairy moments, actually probably happens to be more often in games where Carter Vickers isn't playing alongside him. So I think he provides a bit of reassurance to get Carl Starfelt up to the best levels that he possibly can get to. So I do believe that with the two of them being together, that is the best centre defensive partnership you could put together in Scotland, and that is probably the reason why they put the two of them together. Now, I think, to be fair, I think Starfelt's critics are beginning to warm to him a lot more this season. I know even Terry, who's been one of his biggest, even Terry has been one of his biggest critics, I think, is beginning to soften ever so slightly on him. He might even have him in there ahead of Bobo Baldi now, for all I know with Terry. I've still not had a word with him about that. But I think when it comes to the actual team, I think Celtic could probably have filled almost every position, really, if they were wanting to do that. But they're obviously going to have to put in players from other clubs to try and get a bit of balance. But there's not many Celtic players I can think of. Ironically, Joe Hart's probably one of the few I could think of that maybe shouldn't be in, and he is in. But I think outside of that, most of the remaining starting 11 for Celtic, I would struggle to say how you could make a case for them not to get in a team of the season of the Scottish top flight. And it's not to be disrespectful to the other teams, it's mainly just because of the season Celtic are having, where they are on course, as we've said, to break records. They are on course for another treble, which nobody would have seen coming a couple of years ago. So it's all looking rosy from a Celtic point of view. And if the sort of rewards Rangers are going to get from the season is having a couple of players in the team of the year just to tick some boxes with the SPFL, that's all fine with me. That's all good. They can crack on with that.
They can crack on indeed, Jonathan. Right, okay, what else? Something else was good. Oh yeah, there's links today. Was the other one I wanted to talk to you about. I want your opinion on this. Now, I think the story came from Paul Parker, former Man United defender, right? And all he'd said was he could see Billy Gilmore. He thinks the move to Brighton wasn't right for him. He thinks that he could see him moving to Scotland, but if he was going to go to Scotland, there's only one place he should be going, that would be Celtic. He's a name that's going to crop up, I think, a lot until he eventually puts on a Rangers shirt again, to be honest. I think we'll be consistently linked with him. I don't think they'll be operating in waters for the foreseeable where they could afford a Billy Gilmore even on loan. I don't see, unless it was to get to like the minute to 12 of the deadline, do you know what I mean? And Billy Gilmore's kicking and screaming to get out, and Brighton got, do you know what, we'll just pay his wages. Just get him out playing football. It's the only way I can see then getting him. How does he fit into your thinking for the next phase of Ange's team? Now, we've spoke about recently on the bus that, Celtic's one of their main differences this year. I think the bench has been stronger, undeniably. I don't think it's all unbelievable, right? I'm not saying that, but I think it's stronger than it was this time last year. That's been a marked difference than what we've had before, what we had in season one. I think the resilience side of it, though, comes into it. And Celtic, maybe someone was correcting me in the comments, said the word you're looking for is streetwise, boys, say, which is kind of two words, but I'll go with it. And I think they are a wee bit more of that. Does Billy Gilmore add that level to it, or would he be very much more the type of guy I think would have been phase one of Ange's sort of signings that he would make? Although, notwithstanding that, I think he's a talented young player. I think he's young, he's fresh, he's talented. That's what Louis Walsh should say. But I think he is a player with very, very good passing range, ball control. His temperament seems to be good. We all know that obviously we'd get one right round them as well, which would be hilarious if we did well to sign him. Do you think that would be someone that's maybe on Celtic's radar a wee bit? I think Ange loves signing a midfielder. Let's be real here. Let's be real. He loves signing a midfielder. And I do think he has got attributes that would be of interest to Ange, if I'm honest with you. Would it be someone that we're going to be trying to sign this summer? That remains to be seen. I don't think the length that people are maybe getting their knickers in a twist with whether they think is actually much more to it. I think it was just a former player, just joining dots that don't actually exist. I wouldn't call it necessarily a link. I would call it just an observation that someone's made. Do you know what I mean? Before you know it, we'll be signing Messi this summer because we'll just keep linking him on the bus. Jonathan said, I think it'd be good for Messi's career to play under Ange. Don't you?
Free agent.
He's linked with us.
So why not?
He's linked with us. But Gilmore, he's an interesting one. But I do think it's a name, to be completely honest with you, that will crop up quite a lot between now and the summer, whether we like it or not.
Yes, I would imagine he will be a name that does crop up a little bit. It's a bit of lazy journalism, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure how much of a rumour this will turn out to be, whether there'll be any truth to it or not. But I think Postecoglou does like a midfielder. I think Billy Gilmore would tick a lot of boxes for what Postecoglou would be looking for. I think he would slot into the team, because you've got to remember, in terms of what Postecoglou likes, it does boil down a lot to the character of the individual as well. And I think Billy Gilmore has that sort of work ethic and drive that I think Postecoglou would be quite happy to have on board with his team. And there is possibilities, in the midfield. I would imagine there'll be a few changes at Celtic over the summer. I think David Turnbull could be out the door. There's obviously rumours about Leo Tate as well, possibly exiting in the summer for Brighton. So he may well be looking at, options in that midfield, besides the fact he likes to sign a central midfielder anyway. So I think if he was looking at somebody like Billy Gilmore and it could be done for the right deal, then that is something that Celtic may look to pursue. I think when it boils down to it, when you're looking at English clubs and things like that, is you can sometimes find that the value for money side of it isn't always there. So unless Postecoglou is absolutely adamant that he wants him, then I don't know if that deal would get commissioned or not. But I think...
Would he be someone then that you would need to, if you were trying to bring him in, go down the CCV route, the Jota route, and go, look, on a loan with an option to buy, and that then gives us that closer look. Do you know what I mean? That gives us that ability. And you agree a fee. What did he cost Brighton? £9 million. Obviously his value's only depreciated in his spell there, so that could be that sort of ball, that sort of area where if Celtic are still going to have that hesitancy in terms of buying players from that £6 million plus market, and they only feel comfortable doing it if the managers work with them for a year before they commit to that sort of spend, that would maybe be the only way you could see it coming. Does that make sense? Maybe a wee
I think so. I think the board would give him the money to spend on a £6 to £7 million player if Postecoglou was adamant. I'm just not convinced Billy Gilmore would fit that criteria, that Postecoglou would be willing to feel like he has to, almost have the board over the barrel, if you like, to try and get the deal done. I don't think I'd go back to Martin O'Neill, because apparently he had to make a bit of a fight to get Chris Sutton in the door, if you remember, because he got questioned on that. And I think he notoriously and famously lowered his glasses and said, "Who's in charge of the transfer business?" So I would imagine Postecoglou could be. Yeah, I would imagine Postecoglou could be quite similar in that way, that if he got a bit of a pushback and it was someone he was adamant for, is that he would turn round and push back on that. And I think the board, because of the success Postecoglou was brought in, would then go and back him to bring in a player. I'm just not convinced at this stage whether Billy Gilmore would be somebody, that Ange Postecoglou hasn't really, had many dealings with, would be somebody that he'd be willing to go and put that money out for. And particularly when the midfield as well is, pretty strong at Celtic, provided that Tate doesn't end up moving in the summer. So I think if it was to happen, I would certainly subscribe to your belief that it would be a sort of loan to buy situation. But if you were asking me, would Celtic push the boat out and spend, £7, £8, £9 million on a player? I think absolutely they will in the summer, if it's someone that Postecoglou has his eye on and he is adamant will improve the team. And, I think if he does the Martin O'Neill pushback like he did with Chris Sutton, I think Postecoglou would get his man.
Interesting. Yeah, a bit of a mixed bag in the comments there for that. But without further ado, Jonathan, we'll move on to that time. We're approaching the old 40-minute mark. And, Phil McGinley is waiting in the wings. He's in a belter at top of the night. On he comes. There he is.
All right, guys.
He's gone into Milan.
I have indeed, yeah. I remembered that they're playing this Champions League semi-final this week as well. But I've also got a retro AC Milan shirt, so I'm covering both bases on that.
Aye.
Oh, have you got a half and half scarf for tomorrow night, Phil?
Half and half scarves, aye. I just got into the wardrobe thing. I've not really done that one. I realised, but it's tonight is Real and Man City tonight.
Man City.
Right, so it's a Milan derby tomorrow. Okay.
No,
I'm intrigued by that one. That one interests me, so I'll give that a watch, definitely. But we'll see how that plays out. But that's not the main event this week. Nobody cares about the Champions League when Sutton Death is in town.
Let's go.
Yes, indeed, because dramatic twist in the tail last week. For the first time in the series, Jonathan took the lead. He leads 15-14. There are 4 games left to go, including tonight. So Jonathan needs to win 2 more games. Russell, you need to win 3 out of the remaining 4. So The mission is very, very simple. So
Come
I will
on,
get
boys.
all the aesthetics ready, and we will get ready to go in a matter of moments, guys.
This is where Russell is going to give me his Todd Cantwell impression. He looks a bit like Todd, so this is where he's going to pretend he's Todd Cantwell and pretty much just give us yap for the next couple of minutes about how he's going to do this, and this to me. So off you pop, Todd. On you go. I'm all yours.
You can't just start calling me TikTok Todd. That is bang out of order. That is bang out of order.
I can see you doing that little dance if you were to win this competition. I can see you doing that little TikTok Todd dance.
Stop it, Jonathan. I mean, I've never really done a TikTok, but I have seen one or two of yours. And do not make me put out your Twitter, your TikTok user handle out there, mate. Right? Well, we don't want to go down that road. But yeah, he's not dancing, don't worry, but they're embarrassing anyway. But yes, what would be embarrassing if I were to lose tonight? Luckily for me, Jonathan, everything's just coming together right now in Boise land. It's going to be back
from the highs of King Kenny to the lows of Sutton Death. We're about to bring you right back down to earth from that cloud you're hugging at the moment. I'm coming up with my hot air balloon.
Kenny's not on a friend.
I mean, you need him. I mean, you should probably just substitute yourself out. I'd rather play Kenny. It'd be more fun.
Yeah, you don't get to speak to Kenny, mate. Kenny's my second best pal.
Nothing like it, guys. Nothing like it. So all the popcorn's out at home, folks, because we are ready to go for another round of Sutton Death. The finish line is in sight. So, Jonathan, as you won last week, first or second tonight?
First, please, Phil.
First again, going in for the kill. Okay. Tonight's question, guys, is all about double number goal scorers, but I don't mean literally the number of goals they've scored. I mean squad numbers, that is. Starting from the 98-99 season, when designated squad numbers came into the Scottish Premiership, I am looking for the name of any Celtic player who scored a goal in a competitive match wearing any of these numbers in the banner. 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66,
it's like the lottery, this.
99. I will tell you right now, I'm not going to reveal which one. One of those numbers is a dud and has no right answers, but I'm not going to tell you. If one of you guesses or tries to home in on that one, I'll just say yes or no. So I'm not going to give away which one. So one of those numbers is a bogey, but every other one of the answers does have at least one.
I like how you've done this. This is like Russell's speciality as well as not squad numbers. You like special. You used to do this on the Double Down quiz all the time. Squad numbers. You should be good at this. How many right answers?
I asked the questions. I never memorise people's numbers.
Overall, there are 22 correct answers from cumulatively all the possible numbers that you can pick here. I say one number is a dud, so hopefully you can avoid that. But yep, there is right answers next to 8 out of the 9 there.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll take a nice straightforward. I'm going to Gary Hooper.
Yes, indeed. Number 88, Gary Hooper.
I'm going to go 22. Odsonne Edouard.
Yeah, Odsonne Edouard was a number 22. Indeed, that is correct.
Leela Bader.
Yeah, a number 11. Yeah.
And what if someone else has won number 11? He can still be named?
That's fine. Any of the right answers, yep.
From
multiple answers from anywhere from 1999 to present day.
I think Scott Sinclair.
Scott Sinclair's a number 11 as well, correct? Yes, indeed.
I'm going to say one of Russell's old favourites, Biram Kayal. I believe he's 33.
Shit!
He was a number 33, yes, and he did score goals.
I'm out. I can't picture who the 77 is. Oh, man. I've got a number here. At 44. I don't think it's him.
It's hard, to be fair. I've not got many either.
He had a mad number. 77 screaming out at me. 77 is a winger. I cannot think who. I can't do it. So I'm going to have to really gamble here. Surely 11's more likely. 11 from 99-2000, did you say, Phil?
98-99 is the first season that designated squad numbers came in, so...
I am going to say then, Morten Vikost.
Morten Vikost, the correct answer, yes.
He gets in there!
Whoa. There you go. 3 apiece after 3.
He was 11, wasn't he?
I'm going to throw a right Gonna throw a right curveball in here, but I think it's right. That's another number 33. I'm gonna say Ross Wallace.
You're right, aye. Ross Wallace is
Fucking
correct,
yes!
aye. Yeah, Ross Wallace, aye.
Your old pal, Russell. How do you not get Ross Wallace?
It's not my old pal. It's a different Ross Wallace from the one I was at school with.
I mean, you should have been pals with them. If you are pals with them, I'd have helped you on this question. Pick your friends wisely.
11 again, and I don't think this is right. I think I'm out again. This is the last one, isn't it?
No, this is
Fourth.
your fourth. The next one is Jonathan's fifth.
John's going to get the next one. Oh, Stephen Pearson?
No, that is right. That was my next one.
Stephen Pearson is,
right.
a correct answer. Yes, it is 4 each.
I knew that
After
was right.
4,
Holy
we're on to
shit.
the fifth shot.
That's a
Right.
beaten man. He's beat. He's beat. Yes,
Yeah,
it's in there. He's
I
out.
wonder.
He's
I wonder.
Oh,
I'm
no.
going to say another curveball in here. Lasad?
Lasad is correct to number 11. Lasad. Tunisian striker, is it? Moroccan name. Tunisian, wasn't he?
I don't
So it's 5-4 to Jonathan.
I don't
Right now,
know.
Russell leads
And
this
he's got
point.
scored.
John has scored a competitive goal wearing any of those numbers at the bottom.
Oh man. He wore a stupid number and I hate him. I'm gonna get Colin Kazim Richards.
Oh, Colin Kazim Richards there is a curveball answer, an
20.
obscure one. And Russell, Colin Kazim Richards was wearing number 13. Unlucky for some, it's unlucky for you tonight. Because Jonathan has taken a 2-point lead as the finish line to sight.
I
Jonathan
don't
needs one
believe
more
it.
point. Oh my
Oh,
lord.
Hartley wasn't an answer, you know.
He wasn't an answer at all.
No, that's
All
fine.
good.
That was another
Okay.
one.
Derek Barrickter was your answer. He was the only other one I had written down. But I think he was 17.
Derek Barrickter was an answer, number 11.
Fad Barrickter as well.
Okay, so first of all, do you know which one's the dud number? Do you know which one doesn't have a right
55.
answer?
55.
Nope,
55.
55's got a right answer.
Oh, I don't know then.
It's number 66. There is no number 66 goal scorer in Celtic history. There is a 77, Russell. You were right on that. Do you want to hazard a guess who it may be?
No, I don't know.
Karamoko Dembele. COVID season. He got a couple of games
I would
under
never have
Lenny and
got that.
scored.
Would never
I think he
have got
scored
that
in the
score.
last. He scored against St Johnstone in like the second to last game of the season at Celtic Park. Karamoko Dembele. So the number 11s that he's never got were Paul Hartley, Chaduri.
I just asked you, was Paul
Oh,
Hartley one?
sorry, I'd never came from
I
right.
was
Sorry.
asking you. Was Paul Hartley one I
Hartley
asked him?
Oh, he was.
said
He
Paul
was,
Hartley.
yeah.
Oh, I would have got him.
Sorry, I never heard when you'd said that, like, it was interference.
No, I
from
had
it.
Paul Hartley.
So Paul Hartley, Chaduri, Derek Barrickter, and Patrick Klamala. That was the 11s. The 22s that he's never got were Glenn Luvins and Jason Denier. Jason Denier was always good for a goal that season from set piece. The 33s, Chris Killen was one of them. And the other one, won't surprise you, is it's a modern day one, Matt O'Reilly, who's always been on.
yeah.
We've had a question previously. Matt O'Reilly was still on the board at the end. The number 44, Russell, you were humming and hawing about 44. Stephen McManus. Number
Of
44.
course.
The 55 was Paul
Can't
McGowan.
feel like you're doing it, though.
Paul
You just
McGowan got a few games under Mowbray and scored a few goals. I said the 77 was Karamoko Dembele. The number 88 that's missing, Josip Juranovic, is one. And the 99...
We always forget him.
The 99 is Jack Aitchison, the youngest ever scorer on a Celtic shirt in a competitive game.
Wow.
Yes, Jonathan now leads by 2 points. It is 16,
Russell.
14 with 3 points left on the board.
This flash jinxed me.
You're nearly out, Russell. Take
I'm
it
nearly
up.
out. I don't think I'll go out, though. I think
Russell,
You're
you need
nearly
to
done.
win the next 3 to win it overall. Jonathan needs
Stranger
one
things
more
have
win.
happened. Stranger things have happened.
That's true. That's very
But
true.
yes, that concludes another Tuesday ticket. I think as we enter into the close season as well, just to warn you, the shows will probably get a wee bit shorter. We'll try and still do shows daily, but to actually going round and round the same sort of stuff. I've got the morning show tomorrow at 8:30. I mean, throw me a bone. What are we talking about then? I'm sure we'll find a way, but we'll be up at 8:30 for the breakfast bar, that'll be back tomorrow. But what you'll find is once we enter into the cold season, we'll probably turn the shows into like half an hour, 45 minutes, just condense them a wee bit more into being still topical, but a wee bit shorter probably for the cold season, just to pre-warn you. That was a good Tuesday ticket. Well done, Jonathan. You've got one hand on the Sutton Death trophy. But just remember, in the words of Kenny Dalglish, Boise won't leave you any carrots.
When you've all that stuff at the start, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.